Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt from Rocky's War Room, and tonight I'm joined by Not Jay,
Howdy.
Tim Bancroft,
Hello.
Kevin,
What's up? Oh,
and Sergey from and a cat.
Hello.
And tonight's episode 12 of Antares Adventures. This is 12 of them, guys. It's crazy. I can't believe we've done this many. And we titled it Basic to Competitive. We're going to get through some of the things we didn't talk about in our last pod and get to them now, plus talk about competitive lists for Antares factions that are out there. So we're going to go ahead and get this started and get this rolling. So here we go.
That intro goes hard. I love that intro.
Well, thank you. I made it just for you, Sergey.
It's good. Yeah. got the Gar rave up in here.
Oh my God.
So where did we leave off from last time? We were talking about basic armies and things like that. I think, did we talk about Gar?
I think we were about to.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. We're about to talk about Gar. We pulled out. There's so many different options.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start there. I mean, a basic Gar army to me is straight out of the starter box. That's what my experience was with a Gar army.
We have I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Sergey.
So we have what we call the El Clasico. Yeah, which is a tried and true Gar starter army that I heavily recommend to any new player because it's simple, it's easy to paint, and it also plays really well. And it's just two battle suits, two squads of battle suits, an outcast squad, and Tectorus, and that fits just and ample your Gar battle suits, and that fits just perfectly into 500 points. And it's super simple.
Yes, I have lost many times to the El Clasico.
Yeah, it's just a really solid, simple army.
Myself, it's two battle suit squads, one assault, one regular, and a big, huge 24-man unit outcast that I kept facing. Because
that's interesting.
My son was like, I'm just going to spam these guys. And I was like, okay, no problem. And I focused on the battle suits, forgot about the lugger guns, and got my ass handed to me.
Lugger guns are evisceration machines.
They're crazy good. Like, I didn't realize how good they were. So, your thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore the outcasts, but the basic list is indeed that two battle suits, and the thing is, you've got to have at least one Gar battle squad anyway, and that comes out normally about 214. Because I'd suggest it's not worth not taking the battle suits without their plasma ramp, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So really, the base cost of a battle squad is 214. So you can have two of those, so that's 428, and then on top of that, you've got about basically you've got 22 points to add on bits and bobs. The easiest thing to add on is a Tetris, just at 20 points. Tetris unit at 20 points, and that's good fun. The alternative is a bit difficult because you've got to have at least you've got to have a minimum of 2 tactical and 3 maximum tactical in a basic starter army. So that means you could go with a battle squad and perhaps ramp it up with something. So it's maybe got 4 suits in it, and that works sometimes. And then you can actually run with a couple of really big outcast squads with weapon teams attached. So the trouble is that attaching weapon teams to them slows them down a bit, so they can't sprint as far. And one of the main advantages of outcasts is that they can just run all over the place. but it does mean you've got a bit of heat. But even so, that's big numbers in those squads. That's what 42 plus 636. That's 78. 78, 98, 108, 111 per squad for a maximum size squad. So it's about 111 for each of those, which is only 222 on top of the 214 you've got. That's 400 and something. So there's not that much more you can do with all of that lot. So, it's a bit flexible. Sorry, I think I added things up earlier wrong. 2 suits and an outcast squad and a Tetris squad. I think that's what you said, wasn't it, Sergey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As I said, you could try dropping a suit squad, just adding in a suit and then running with a couple of really big outcast squads.
Mm-hmm.
Then your points are quite light because that's what 100. It said 222 plus 214, which is 436 plus another suit. Yeah, so another suit would bring you close to 500. Or, as I said, it's probably best to go for a group of Tetris because everybody loves Tetris. They are really, really effective, and you could even up them to say 6 to make them quite useful. But you're still then got a fair few points, which I suspect you really want to add for a few bits and bobs, perhaps plasma grenades on one of the outcast squads, maybe you want to add some army options. Get up is a really, really good army option to have with Gar, because Gar go down quite a lot, and you're normally going to have people going down in response to the down dice. So if you've got a get up, that really helps you pull it up, and that's a really great sort of starting army. But what we're talking about is moving away from the starting armies into something, if you like, a step up. So Sergey's list was a great intro. It's a bog standard. You can't go wrong with this, with Gar. And then step up is to go with the trying to see if you can play around with multiple outcast squads.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm a very simple man. When I step up to 750 points, I slam a command crawler down on the table, and that's the only thing I add to the list.
Terrible. That's that command crawler. Oh my gosh.
Although we haven't played it since the command crawler nerf. We really in one of the next battle reports, we absolutely have to do a 750 Gar Empire game and test if it's a lot more destructible now.
Because we used to have it so that it was re-rolling the res test just like the leader roll. As opposed to, what is it? It's now it
re-rolls its damage test, which makes it much easier to pin out and potentially destroy. Yeah.
Doesn't the command crawler have a plasma reactor?
Yes. Yeah. So if you get it crumbles to volume 5 sometimes. Yeah.
What was that, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. It's got plasma amp.
Okay. All right. Yeah, plasma amp and plasma reactor.
Mm-hmm.
High commander. Ooh.
Yeah, which means high commander allows you access to all of the units. Because some units need the commander, right, Sergey?
Yeah. So outcasts have the outcast special rule, which invalidates them from receiving your command, follow, and
initiative.
Whichever the last one is from your leader, which is actually probably a good way to segue into the next Gar faction, which would be the Gar. Do you want to do Gar Exiles next or Gar Rebels?
Probably Gar Rebels, I think it's
Rebels, yeah. But have you ever used a Gar Bomber Squad?
Kevin does all the time.
I have.
You have?
I like them.
So do I. And the Scudders.
I like them because they're mobile. They have, when you're at range, where the leader's scatter gun. The scour gun. There we go. There's a lot of options on what you're shooting, and it's basically it's the Guard X launcher team, and I love X launchers. So if you use them correctly, they're always devastating. And the fact that they're destructure weapons as well, having additional pins is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really love the bombers as well, and I sometimes use them in place of a command crawler when you next go up, which sounds a little bit odd, but what it does bring you is another infantry unit, just as powerful as the battle squads, and they've got this longer ranged overhead burst should you want to do it, which does the disruptor thing as well. And that's probably something we should be a little bit, we should actually bring to attention to people, is that sometimes it's a choice between the battlesuit squads of using disruptor cannon or using their straightforward force shots, or just one shot.
One shot, yeah, with the strike BF4,
yeah. One shot strike value 4, 3 shots strike value 2, or one shot of a disruptor bomb burst. It's quite short range, but it puts an extra pin on the target unit. And that is so dependent on who you're facing. If you're facing Concord, don't do it, because the Concords just shrug off blasts like nobody's business. But if you're facing some of the other units for whom pins may be critical, or if you're facing a force who can shrug off pins like the Boromites, then maybe you can think about using disruptor bombs from those battlesuit squads just to try and slow your opponent down.
See, that's funny. I actually have the opposite reaction when I face Concord, is that I use exclusively disruptor bombs against Concord. And that might be an artifact of how Kevin plays Concord, and is that he runs a lot of buddy drones. Yeah, the disruptors eliminate all of his buddy drones.
Tell us what that disruptor cannon does.
Yeah.
Okay. So a disruptor weapon is a designation that a lot of different GAR weapons have. It allows you to place 2 pins on an opponent when you're hitting them. Unless they're a GAR, then it doesn't affect them. But it also affects heavily armored units. Most of the time when you're shooting a heavily armored unit and you hit them with something, it doesn't cause any pins. Disruptor will still cause 2 pins, which is like a significant thing. It makes GAR very, very effective at pinning out vehicles, which is good because they suck at actually destroying them. It also allows you to place regular hits as if they were lucky hits against buddy drones. And that can be very effective against certain armies. If somebody has a batter drone, you absolutely want to instantly bomb it down and get rid of that batter drone. Also, I find that Concord and Isaurian are pretty identical in this, is that they're so tough. Because at least, again, when I'm playing Kevin, his style is that he almost always brings medical probes. So I find that even when I'm like scour cannoning down people, I'm not killing anyone. So I tend to just be like, screw it. I'll put 4 pins on this unit. I'll try to put 4 more pins and just pin it out next round, or just put 2 pins on every single one of Kevin's units so that at least he has to roll an order test, because I find that I'm often on the back foot against Concord because they're spreading pins to me almost as effectively as I'm spreading pins to them. I'm not killing any of them. They're not killing any of me, but I have less units to spread pins to. So it's kind of like a psychological warfare game, at least in my experience. And again, it's a meta game of 2 people. It's me and Kevin playing against each other a million times.
Now, and the perspective of the firer, now the person who's getting shot at all the time. It's very interesting, the GAR weaponry, because the bombs are very good. But in all honesty, Sergey, there's more times than not that I hope that you incorrectly choose to fire the bombs, because it is important to note that whereas I feel like GAR players enjoy the awesome feeling of knowing that their combatant might not necessarily understand 100% how to deal with them, which is what's fun, I think, about the GAR. But like, it is difficult once someone understands the GAR mechanics, because, for instance, as the Concord, Sergey, your predilection was to try to pin me out because those distortion bombs are great. If you time firing your plasma amps correctly, where you're doubling the order dice that each of your units get, you can really, there has been many times where I have positioned a heavy drone or something like to that effect into a good firing position where it can see many targets, and then in that turn, Sergey, using his order of operations, has been able to, because you only have to shoot it 4 times successfully with that distortion weapon to completely pin out like a command 8 unit. So that's dangerous. But the mechanic of blasts, where when your unit goes down, which is often the case as pins are being stacked onto it, blast weapons do not have to reroll hits, but they do have the amount of hits they produce with their variable dice. So sometimes it is really important as a GAR player to really understand, like, what should I be doing right now? Because sometimes you can kind of get like pin drunk where you're like, I'm going to put 2 pins. I have to put 2 pins. And so you choose that blast weapon. But there actually has been quite a few times, like I would say numerous enough times to say that it happens often, that Sergey's attacks ended up completely doing nothing because of that element of it, which is, I mean, and so,
word of the day, pin drunk.
Pin drunk.
Now,
it's something I feel often.
Now that Sergey understands that mechanic, though, being a seasoned GAR player, it is much harder to fight him now, because there is actually like a bunch of different instances where the scatter shot is actually 100% the better way to go, because it's just more deadly in general too. So, but yeah, that's my take on getting shot at a million times by the GAR.
So,
and it's important to note that one of the things about the GAR is that they can strip buddies off opposing troops, troops, like nobody's business, just by allocating disruptor bomb hits to those buddies, and that can be absolutely deadly. But it does come up with an odd result, which is that you can fire a disruptor bomb at a unit, it gets 2 pins, but the only damage that's actually taken is the loss of a buddy drone. The unit's thinking, oh, you know, why are we down when all we did was get that buddy drone waving in the air over there, but yes, I do agree with Kevin. Disruptors are great for stripping. They can be useful for that first off, but after that, you've got to be really careful about deciding what to use them or not. Very often, it's the other shots are more important. And when you're faced with, and you're almost always outnumbered as a GAR Empire army, when you're faced with opponents who, like Concord, who are splitting fire on you, and they're putting pins on 2 units with each strike squad each time, and they normally got about 3 or 4 strike squads, you are in trouble.
No, it's the truth. And I think another way to articulate too is it's kind of like it depends on, I think, on the status of how you're amped at the moment. Because if you have units with the dual order dice, the bombs are definitely a better choice, because you're getting 2 in, so you can potentially put 4 pins on 1 unit, which mid game, if you have units that have already taken casualties or vehicles that have taken hits from other things, it's really deadly. But once you've burned that out and you're back to only having 1 order dice, sometimes it's just like Tim said, it's like if you're only killing a buddy drone, that unit's just going to be more likely to come back and actually damage you. So it does help to switch to more of the killing mindset, where it's like this strike value 2 hit might do more damage. And I think that might be what it boils down to.
Nope. You muted yourself, Tim.
We're talking here about things which are slightly above, if you like, starting armies or starting.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
Yes.
Late game stuff. So,
this is into the competitive and more experience.
That speaks towards the true complexity of like the GAR as a faction. Like it is, I would say, an Antares learning curve that many people go through because of the fact that it's offered in the starter set. And it's like Concord's the same way. It's like, the splitting fire Tim was saying is, it's like, definitely not for the beginners, but it is a concept that you pick up quickly, just in the sense of like, actually playing the game.
Yeah. So
we're talking about expanding up to 750, which is that crawler, which is quite important. When you go higher than that, I've just noticed that John Harrington's joined the chat. And one of his favorite combinations is to have a command crawler, which is really quite close to a bombardment crawler. And the bombardment crawler has got a loader with it. What he does quite quickly is move his bombardment crawler up, have that fire and go all over the place. With its great big bomb, and he then brings up his command crawler, he then instantly issues a follow command to the bombardment crawler. So you've now got the command crawler firing its twin scours at somebody. You've now got the bombardment crawler firing its twin scours at somebody. You've then got the bombardment crawler firing its overhead bombardment disruptor on somebody, and that's pretty hefty stuff. That's some of it, D8, SD2, and then he gets the little loader to trigger its special effect, which is for the bombardment crawler to fire again. So all of a sudden, you've got a potential for something like 20 pins being dished out in one activation. I mean, sure, it's
Oh, John's a wicked man.
But John is a very wicked man, yes. And you have to be able to deal with that if you're an opponent of the guard. So, yeah, sorry, you were saying, did you want to move on to somewhere else, Rocky?
Yeah, he says Gar Exiles for the win, so we might as well talk about the Exiles, right?
I agree.
Not Jay, we'll be right back, guys, as well.
Bombardment crawler is a thing of nightmares, though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. What can we say about
All I can ever think of is the Terminator 1 Future War scene, where it's just like going around like shooting the purple lasers, because that thing would be just insanely terrifying to deal with in a real sense.
So Gar, I just started playing Gar Exiles. It's the army that I've most recently added to my roster, and I really, really like them. And I never ever play with characters in Antares, almost ever, but I love the characters for Gar Exiles, particularly Shaltok himself, which Tim has written some excellent fiction about, which you should absolutely read. But he has they add a weapon to the Gar, which is called, I believe it's called a bomber cannon as opposed to a disruptor cannon, or am I getting that backwards?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's a bomber cannon.
Okay.
Basically, they just took a disruptor bomber and made it into a direct fire cannon. And
Yeah, which is awesome.
Not being particularly imaginative, just called it was a bomber cannon.
Fell over.
Oh, well, welcome back. So it is useful. The other thing about the Exiles is that their squads of troopers are mixed, or can be mixed. It's actually quite difficult to make them all have the same. But that's actually quite an advantage, because what you can actually do is have a battle armor squad with an attached assault trooper. Then the assault trooper can get close and use his use his gouger to put people down. He can actually, when he goes into combat, he can actually use his disruptor bombs as he goes into point blank shooting, which cause all sorts of havoc. And then, of course, the assault trooper can then use his plasma, his heavy duty claw, to take people out. And that's makes a big difference between the Exiles and the core Gar. The other thing with the Exiles is you have to take more ground troops. You have to take more outcasts, if you like. Now, you've got some quite nice outcasts. You've got the basic outcasts. You've got the sheep, things like Shaltok sheep, who are the elite Exile units, just like the Black Guard are in the Rebels, and we'll come on to the Rebels. And they've got basically the dismounted troopers. So they are battlesuit drivers who run out of their battlesuits because the Exiles are short and mode, and they are now crawling around on the ground. But they are actually a bit tougher. They've got a better command than normal outcasts. But they're still armed with lugger guns. They're slightly better armored, I should say. So res is 5. But one of the things they should never do is allow themselves to be taken in close combat, because their numbers aren't big and they are just too weak to be able to inflict anything on opponents.
They also have access to that bomber cannon, which is great. So that they fill like a shooty backline outcast role better than an outcast would, which is more of a medium range unit. Which is what I like so much about the Exiles, is I feel like they're your sniper Gar. Like I use them in a much more shooty manner than I would use a Gar Empire, which is a very like kind of like an in your face kind of role. Whereas I feel like with Shaltok sheep, in games where I'm allowed to field shell talk, because you're not always allowed to field characters, I can use him as a backline shooter. And they have access to scutters as an attack scutters as a non-limited choice, which is dope, because scutters are so cost effective for all you competitive douchebags out there like me. They are so cost effective. You get so much for so little.
So a basic, exile list would include what exactly? I've never played personally. I've looked at the rules and I've read all the content. You go read it because Tim wrote it. It's excellent. And now, I'm not just saying that because he's here. It is really good.
I'd say it's a bit more difficult with the exiles to come up with a starter list, but I would say that it might be worthwhile just putting the compulsory armored suit, which isn't that much, and adding in the extra trooper, so that's something like 214, and then trying to put in the bomber cannon, and then also putting in the attack scutters as a start, and then working around there. You've got to get another 2 tactical units, and of course you could always use an auxiliary unit, like terrorists or whatever. So you start from those 3 options and then sort of build up things around them. Use an outcast. Use a bunch of outcasts if you can. I'm trying to see the costs here. Outcasts, you should be able to get 42 points for outcasts. You could get a couple of outcast squads in there if you wanted, and scutters and that bomber cannon and the core trooper unit that you want in there and that makes a solid start with a decent number of units, which has actually got that shooting thing, which frankly they need, because they need to get a lot of firepower down really quickly before enemies close with them hand to hand, because support teams don't work well in hand to hand, the outcast squads don't work well in hand to hand, and frankly even the scutters, as tough as they are, they will get outnumbered in hand to hand.
Yeah, Kevin beat my butt with some Algorand assault troopers the last time I played Exiles. I really like to field shell at any tactical level. I really like to field shell talk sheep, and to do that you have to field in tournaments. You're probably not allowed to field shell talk most of the time because he's a named character, and most of the time you can't do that. So if you're playing by those rules, you have to add Dobek or Tren. Is it Tren? Is it Dobek or Tren?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is a pseudo character. It says specifically in the rules that they do not count as a character, which is, I'm assuming, to allow them to be played in tournaments. But it's essentially, it upgrades one of your battle squads to a higher command level and unlocks Shell Talk Sheep. Shell Talk Sheep are awesome because they can take the command of your suits from anywhere on the field. So it just gives them this really wide bubble of being really reliable, which is not something you would usually attribute to an outcast squad. It's really nice having that reliability. Plus, it's also just cool.
Now, Jay, would you have a question, man?
No, not really. Other than the 2 starter sets that are currently available. I know cost wise, the Strike on Kara 9 is beyond reproach. I mean, that's an excellent starter set price wise. But do you think, because that is Algren and Concord, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then the bigger box set, that's
Gar
Algren and Algren. Okay.
Gar and Concord.
Gar and
you
Concord.
Get a playable Concord force with strike troopers and their drones, and then you also get a battle suit squad for the Gar and an assault suit squad for the Gar.
Okay. So for somebody who is completely new to gaming, not just Gates of Antares, but gaming, and just like, you got a 15-year-old kid, he's got $150 or 200 pounds or whatever crazy money gets used over there. And they're going in to buy, to get into the hobby. They saw before all of this COVID business hit, they were at the local game store and saw this really cool game, and they really got pumped up about it, and they're wanting to get into it. What, for someone completely new, never has played a game before, of the 3 factions that are in the starter sets, what's the easiest to get into?
I would say the Gar Concord one, personally.
But which of the, why? Because of the Gar or because of the Concord?
Concord. No,
both.
You're looking for the army, really, aren't you? Not Jay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say that he's probably, his suggestion is probably right. It's probably the Concord. If you've played wargaming in the past, then and you just want to have a lot of fun, then the Gar are fantastic. There's loads of plastics. The core of their armor is plastic. You don't need that many models. Few suits, a few outcasts, and whatever. And the starter army is actually pretty good for them there. But they need you to be confident, really, in rules or in wargaming in general, to appreciate that they are just a fun army. And if you're not into that, if you don't have those skills, you don't have that background, then it's got to be something simple, really, like the Concord, I think. And the Concord, there's loads of plastics for the Concord. There's transport, their main drone, their smaller drones, and their main infantry are all plastic, so it's fairly cheap to expand as well. And you don't need that much to actually be effective with them. And that, I think, is a really good start. The second one down out of those 3 starter ones, I'd say, is probably Algarin, because they are a wargamers army. They don't really have weaknesses. They're pretty good all round, and you can specialize them if you wish. This is what we've said in the past. In the last episode. Is that right, guys?
Yeah,
okay?
I agree.
Yeah. I'm thinking, hello, Scott, and hello, Ruben.
Now, if you're purely going for looks, though.
Oh, Gar all the way. At least
Gar all the way, man.
Gar all the way. Gar the coolest.
The moment Sergey figured out he could have those crab dudes all in crazy positions, he was sold. Literally, literally, all of his are like this.
Yeah.
They're coming at him.
Yeah.
I was
you can do so much posing with those.
Oh yeah.
With those Gar models, they're just wonderful. And I have mine climbing all over rocks and clambering around, and some of them are just crouching down, blocking off a shot. The guns on the
great.
side, or they're just there, sort of thing. They're just so much fun to pose. They are
absolutely
one of the best models I've to play around with in science fiction games, simply because they're just so much fun. They really are.
Oh yeah.
But that's one thing we should say with all the Gar, with those two, with the Exiles and the Gar Empire, you've got to expect that sometimes you're going to win big and sometimes you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Lose big. It's the nature of the Gar. Yes, Mozimus, ever so sorry, I am barely audible. We've tried everything we can to up my volume, and my volume's up at max. Matt has ramped me up as max. I do not have another microphone that will work as well, I'm afraid. So I'm sorry about that. So that's it out of those two, I suppose. And is it worthwhile moving on to the Rebels or another awkward Gar?
Yeah, absolutely. I have no experience with Rebels as of yet.
I've read a lot.
I've read a lot. Yeah,
but I've never played as them yet.
You need a lot of Blackguard and maybe Rebel squads. I mean, they're kind of like the Horde orcs, if I were to compare it to anything.
Definitely Horty.
I played 2 games. There's 61 points for a Blackguard squad. And that's,
So
you know, 5 guys and a leader. You can add up to 6, I think, at like 8 points apiece. So why not? But the reason why I played them and played against them. Now, if they can rain down a lot of fire. They're kind of if I were to say, dare I say,
Dare.
Concord Gar, maybe close to that, shooting wise and pumping out as many shots as they can. Ruben says, I have a ton of rebels to paint. Definitely a horde army. Yes. You're probably looking at closer to 70 models on that one. If you really want a decent.
Model heavy. My Blackguard units, I tend to run in 8s.
Eights, yep.
Always give them a plasma lance and always give them a micro X. And I always give their leader a plasma carbine, which makes it awkward shooting them because you're rolling billions of different dice with different mods.
Yeah.
So that's
And that
probably not good for a starting play, you see what I mean?
No.
But if you're fielding as a starter army, you field all of those. And the box, I think, comes with all of those options anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But if you field those, then you've got a Blackguard unit is a really flexible, really useful, solid unit for something like 61, 77, 83, 86 points. You can give them all mag lashes if you really want, which makes them really expensive and quite a shock in hand to hand. But you probably wouldn't want to do that because really their strength is 3, so they'll last 1 round of combat and they're quite likely to not last the next simply because they're so weak.
The fact that you can have more plasma lances in a GAR unit?
Yeah, and that makes them really
Say magnifique.
That's why if you're going rebels, field Blackguard units, you know, they're able to split fire. This is a GAR army who's able to split fire.
So insane.
Go on.
Ruben says, I remember when the Far Talk Mini was released, it was like, oh my God, beautiful. What a model. I have not painted any of mine, but it's because I'm kind of like, they're called Blackguard. I want to do something with black, but I want to add another color, you know. Purple's perfect, you know, and a purple green. So I'm doing orange. That's what I finally decided on.
Nice.
Purple's perfect. I painted them orange.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Orange and purple. Orange and purple. That's what I'll do.
Just added loads of Blackguard with Lance, which is the way to run them, I think, and it's really good. But the nice thing about them is you can then add in loads of weapon teams, as basically as many as you want. We had to do a mod for this, which was the Games Day rules mods, which I'd heartily suggest people use if they're using GAR at all. And that's on the Nexus, www.gatesofantares.com. And if you go to Rules Central, you'll see Games Day rules options up there. But one of the problems with them was they were intended as a horde army, you know, like loads of models. There was a bit of a problem with the number of order dice they could pick up because you could spam order dice like nobody's business, which meant it became a very unsatisfying game. And that's what Games Day mods have actually done to fix it, in terms of you have to make sure that your weapon teams are assigned to a squad. So that makes it much easier. Rebel, and to supplement the Blackguard, yes, perhaps a battle squad around or something, or a command squad like that. But the other thing which you really ought to consider taking is the Rebel Creeper, because the Rebel Creepers are just
I was just gonna say that. Or don't they have they have an assault crawler or something like that, don't they?
They have an assault crawler as well, which is actually really quite pokey. It's a strategic option. You can have that in the place of a bombardment crawler or a command crawler. The attack crawler is got twin maglite support, which isn't so good compared to a Scour cannon, except on range, because it does boost the range quite a lot. But you can have them with 2 mag cannon, which is 2 shots at mag 5 with massive damage, and that makes them quite pokey either as well. So that's something that's really worth thinking about.
I run them with an assault squad, and I haven't done this yet, but I want to do the rebels with an assault battle suit, a large 1,000 points with assault battle suits, and that pokey crawler, and a bunch of blackguard. And
Yeah.
There's one more unit who you really ought to consider. So that's the blackguard. It's the shooting support squads. It's that creeper, and the other unit who you really ought to look at, if nothing, because it just really scares the living daylights out of your opponent, and that's Flitter Bombs. And
They're so cool.
Flitters who've been turned into bombs. So you've got these flying bombs flitting around the field who attach themselves to an enemy unit and just explode. They sometimes
That's right.
But when they do explode, they apply 2 pins, so they can be really nasty, and they're good fun.
Awesome. Is that everything we want to say about the guards and the rebels and everything like that? Is there anything else you guys want, Sergey, Kevin, or not Jay? You have a question about?
I do have one more point on Gar for beginners. If you look at the models, they're easy to paint. For a rank novice, this is the easiest model in Antares to paint. It's all big surfaces. You can literally just do the entire model one color, wash it, and then put like maybe an accent color on it, and you got a great looking model. That's what this is. Like, I painted this miniature after not painting for like 5 years, and it turned out pretty good. You know what I mean? It looks pretty good. And it was not hard, and it didn't take me long. So if you're looking to get into painting, it's easy step into painting.
I totally agree with that. I literally have field blue, Nuln oil, dry brush field blue again, and then pick out all the black parts and a little bit of pink on the glow. They're
easy.
super simple. So
Great. Nice.
Awesome.
Nice few painting tips then. Do you want to move on to Isaurians, Rocky?
absolutely, we can absolutely do that. I'll love that actually.
Cool.
Because the Isaurians are what I call, if you were to compare them to another game, which I shouldn't, but Dark Elves, are they kind of feel like that. They feel like an elite force, which we have talked about. We have spoke about. But
nasty is the feel they should have, really.
Yes, and I field them with a drone commander, typically.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
With the named drone commander or the regular drone commander?
Either one.
Okay.
Either one, because I'm silly like that.
It's a great model.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's either the command squad or the drone commander is typically what I do. The command squad, I'll do that if I'm facing if I need more shots. If I need to pin out Gar or something like that. But most of the time, I take it with a drone commander. To start.
Well, why is that? That's I've never tried that. Or I did once and I failed miserably with it.
He's super mobile. You only have to worry about one guy. He can take a bunch of like a synchronizer drones and shield drones. He can take 2 shield drones.
Mm-hmm.
What else? He can also include up to 2 light support drones if you need more shots as well. So those light support drones are pretty. I'd say maybe I'd take 1 if I really want to, but I believe they move at the same speed. Do they not? I think they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. If I can remember, I haven't played them in probably about 6 months, but that's typically. I played Isaurians probably more than Concord, maybe. Trying to figure them out. Now, that doesn't mean I'm successful at it all the time. But Nano Probe Net, I give him leader 2. I'm trying to think of how I did this. I kitted him out that way. It's just the super mobility. You know what I'm saying? I want that compared to he can just fly around the board. He gets more drones, I believe. Don't you think he does?
I'm pretty sure you're correct.
Yeah. I haven't tried the nano probe net yet. It seems cool. I just haven't tried it.
It's cool, but you gotta get it off at the right time, and
It's tricky to use, and it's probably not good for a starter.
No.
Yeah.
And one of the things, if you really want mobility, is that you can go with a fully pulse bike.
It's so cool.
So you can take a pulse bike command squad, 165. You could then take a pulse bike squad, 133. I mean, it's expensive. We're talking 300 points already. And you could take 2 pulse bike squads there. So that's 430. So yeah,
that's what I take in tandem to the drone leader is the pulse bikes. Yeah.
Yeah, I should say that you're not allowed to take more than 1 pulse bike squad unless you take a pulse bike command squad there. So there's a limit there. But so if you want mobility, your Saurians can just do it out of the gate. But they also have the great things, and they've got the Gribblies who can also come on in the Sanra, who can also come on to support the core infantry who are their face squads.
Yep, and pulse spikes is what I have. All this super mobile stuff, including the drone and the light support, and then I have my lucky lady sitting out in the back. And, then I have the Zenra 1. I just have this super confusing looking army, and what do I do with it? So. But it's super. A lot of it's more mobile than the others. Those pulse spikes are just insane. I have not tried that, Tim. I did not know you could take 2 squads. I didn't know, and I don't know why I didn't know that. But
I have that exact army sitting in my closet, unbuilt. Me and Kevin have had this dream of him playing a rapid reaction force with the Concorde and playing only bikes, and me playing only Isaurian bikes and having like a bike fight. we just haven't done it yet.
We need to do a custom job and have like our unit leaders with lances for like no reason. Like it wouldn't be efficient at all. It wouldn't be efficient at all.
Lances and pennants, like
it's like
every list I make, Scott.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a really good important thing, Scott Hendricks. And how often do you guys put the face knife up? So I'm just concerned that what we've been talking about is not a starter army. I wouldn't suggest anyone take a drone commander and those drones. I wouldn't suggest any starter take the pulse spikes.
Agreed.
But frankly, even if you're a starter, it's worthwhile trying out the phase sniper and getting used to the phase sniper right from the start, because it is such a useful model. You can basically place it anywhere in your half of the table. You've got to be, I think, more than 5 inches away from the center line. But if you've got a deployment area, you can place him in your side of the table. And it's always a good idea to take him fully kitted. So you've got him with his leader rerolls and his camo drone, as well as the spotter, as well as the phase rifle, which comes with him. And really, it's a symbiosis between the phase, the sniper, and that weapon. So it should actually be based on one base, because they're all one model, really. But they just come in 2, because it's difficult to cast them that way. So if you can, a really good simple starting army would be a couple of phase squads. You could shove in a San squad if you wanted to, and a phase sniper, and then bulk it out with a few targeted drones or spotters. And I should say, just like the Concorde, targeted drones are really, really useful. And then perhaps an overhead unit, because we're going back now into
X-launchers for sure.
X-launchers, we're going back now into a more normal sort of force, rather than the GAR, who are just weird. So that's the sort of mix you ought to think about toying with if you're a starter.
I would even. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on, Sergey.
No, go
on. I'll go first, and then we'll wrap around. First thing first, and this is a blanket statement for any army that has access to it. Run an X launcher at 500 points. Run an X launcher with net ammo. It's very
cost effective.
It's the best thing you can do at 500 points. It's just like You don't need anything special at 500 points. You just need to put out the pins, and that's just that's your support choice. It's easy to do. With Isaurians, I tend to run very aggressive Isaurian lists. And by aggressive, I mean like really in your face lists that have a backline made of X launchers. And I start off, if you look in all of my list building apps, the first unit on every app is a Togra transport.
Yep.
Because I assume, like, I'm not playing a 500 point list. I'm playing a 300 point list because I've already paid for my Togra. So the beauty of a Togra transport is that it's a tough transport. It's got a plasma carbine, plasma light support that is mod 2. So it has some bite to it. But Isaurians have Sanra Taurus squads. And Sanra Taurus squads are my favorite tactical choice in all of Antares space. And they're super cheap. So at 500 points, I will invariably run a Togra with a Sanra Taurus squad in it, because you can rush up the field in your Togra and then unleash your Sanra on people. And that's how I play them. I use my backline to throw out pins, and then I execute with the Togra. That being said, the loadout for the Togra is a thing of much contention.
You go way too safe with it. It is not.
I go too safe with it.
Yeah, you don't have to spend the points on upping the res to 13. As we proved,
I do often, but you don't have to. It's probably incorrect at 500 points to pay for the 13 armor. I do all the time, but I don't think it's the right thing to do.
But Sergey, I would say once again, to double up on Tim's point, that is also definitely not a beginner's list, because
that's the list I began with.
I was gonna say, you have to understand the 1-2 punch, because there's many things. I mean, vehicles can be pinned out pretty easily, so you can get unlucky depending on a list you're fighting against as far as a beginner. And the Sanra Taurus are great, but they do not stand up to enemy firepower once out of the transport whatsoever at all.
No, they're a surgical strike.
I would say like an easy army is kind of what Tim was saying. It's in that 500 point for a beginner. You can do 3 phase squads. They utilize the exact same split fire mechanic as the Concord infantry, so you're pretty much good against most things you're going up against with that mechanic. The phase armor allows you to go down as a reaction a lot, which makes you a lot more survivable. And so what I would say is you could do the X launcher, which is going to be a great choice. The sniper is only 56 points when purchased, but I would say you could even save some money on that. You don't even have to upgrade the sniper to have that leader if you have your auxiliary choice be a medical drone or a medi-probe shard, because you could park one behind your sniper and have the other ones follow your phase. And in my experience, for a beginner, that makes an incredibly hard little force to crack, because when you give Isaurian or Concord in the same respect that reroll, their hyperlight armor really becomes much better. And the fact that they can outshoot most other infantry at mid ranges, it make it a really good force. And then it's very understandable, because then you get that basic learning curve of like how your weapons fire at the basic level with plasma carbines and the lance doing split fire. You get that introduction to the phase armor and those mechanics. And if you wanted to get crazy, you could swap out one of those phase squads for a Taurus phase squad instead, if you wanted to have a little bit more variety. But I think that'd be a really good starter army for it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that answers Mosimus's question, which is yes, after the phase squads, you would go for a Sanra Taurus squad, and I have to agree. I run Sanra Taurus squads so many times.
They're so cool.
It's just great. But it's got to be considered in line with everything else, every other choice that you make. Yes, an X launcher is really useful. A phase sniper is really useful. And then you've got to get 3 compulsory squads, and now you're running up into the points barrier of, say, a 500s. So you may think, well, maybe I'll drop one or the other. Who's going to be more useful? The phase sniper with a camouflage drone, who's going to be 66, with my medi probes at the back, and that's going to be 86. Well, there's 106 already.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're starting to think, okay, well, it's going to be 3 phase squads, which is another 375. So you're now starting to run out of points. So it's how do you envisage combining all of this lot together into a useful force and use them in a useful way? And sometimes that means you've got to pull out a phase squad and sub in an X launcher team, or you've got to pull out both of those and sub in, for example, the Tugra to actually shove everything up forward and shove out a tourist squad at the other end. It's a bit dodgy. I think the real thing with it's coming into a dodgy list is that the Isaurians need a little bit more wargaming experience to get right.
Yeah, 100%.
They're a finesse army, so if they are being played well, they're really, really good. And unfortunately, I play against some really, really good Isaurian people. And yes, if you're listening to this, I'm looking at you, Rick. That's not Rick Treaty, that's Rick Baker. He is just superb, but he uses the downs very often. So he'll shoot his units, he'll shoot the one that's at most risk, and then as soon as it gets shot at, it goes down. So everybody's rolling the roses, so he phases them out. He uses the SAN units in support of those units really quite well. And he then uses his back line, whether that's a phase sniper who's normally up the front, but really it's a back line sort of thing, or if it's the X launcher, to really good effect to actually support those units. But it's the finesse with which he's got to operate all the time, which really makes it difficult.
Awesome.
So there's also one more option with the Isaurians, is that you can take a Sanra task force, which is also tournament legal. Which is if you like playing like large monstrous creature armies, this might actually be a really fun starter army for you. It's not too complicated, and all the creatures in your army are going to be large, which is cool. And Sanra task forces are also pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of leeway that you have in 500 points for Sanra task force, just because you have to have 3 Sanra tactical choices, which is 300 points. Just right off the bat, you only have 200 points after that. I usually like to take 2 phase squads, a Taurus squad and a Togra transport, like I said. Do I think that is the best thing to do? Probably not. It's the thing I like to do, but it's probably smarter to have it. So with the Sanra task force, you're actually allowed to take Sanra weapons teams, which is an upgrade to a normal weapons team. It's probably smarter to take an X launcher, a Sanra X launcher team, than it is to take a Togra. It's probably a lot smarter to do that, and then pump in a couple more phase squads and actually play them like they're meant to be played, like which is like a ranged finesse army, as opposed to like a cudgel like I play them. But that is actually an army that I would recommend to new players. I think that's a pretty simple, fun army. And if you're somebody who likes to play like ogres in Warhammer Fantasy, or if you're somebody who likes to play like tyrannid monstrous creatures, it's something that might appeal to you a lot. Tim, you've muted yourself.
Sorry, guys.
You're good.
I was trying to be good there. The SAN models are just so great. They're just really fantastic. They're just lovely. They're really, really nice. But it's probably not a good or a decent starter army at all. But if once you get into them, there's the options we've mentioned, I suppose.
Excellent. So, any final thoughts on the Isaurians?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Got the best looking transports in the business.
Oh yeah, the Togra transport, and I will fist fight anyone who disagrees with me, is the coolest transport in all of wargaming. It's the coolest one. It's a space whale with brains hanging out of it. It's so cool.
It's not Jay. He does not like the aesthetic, the look of the, as he has said in the past, plant people.
The Asturians are horrendous.
Whatever.
You're gonna see me just
They
like
are
leap
garbage.
out of his frame and tackle Not Jay.
They're
But I
garbage.
I do have a question, and maybe Tim can answer this. But so we fielded in a battle report. Somebody pointed out that I had messed up a rule, and my reading of the rules as written is that they're totally correct. I did mess up the rule. When you upgrade a Sanra Taurus squad,
Oh yeah.
or no, not a Sanra weapons team, it replaces the profile of the weapons team with the Sanra weapons team profile. What happens when you upgrade a phase sniper? And can you upgrade a phase sniper to a Sanra phase sniper? Does it retain the 7 accuracy that the Sanra weapons team or the regular weapons team has, or does it transfer to the Sanra profile, which is only 5 accuracy, or is it just illegal to take that? And, oh, my camera is moved up. You're seeing my ceiling and my laundry.
See,
Always
talking about
airing your
Asturians.
dirty laundry.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well,
What are you doing? What?
The reading of the rules, human type. What that should probably say is any Senatech support team can be upgraded to a Sanra team, because there was no intention at all of ever having a Sanra phase sniper.
okay.
So no, you can't have Sanra phase sniper. In terms of the fluff, it's too many upgrades, too many alterations to the body to actually get you in tune with that weapon and used to phasing out so much. And what it actually just meant was any normal weapon team unit, or specifically Senatech support team, because it then goes on contextually. It then goes on to say crew, and the face sniper is not a
Doesn't have crew yet.
Okay.
so if you look at it, read it properly, it says you can upgrade the crew, and there are no crew in a face sniper team. So you can't upgrade them.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Even if the initial wording is a little bit confusing, so I'm sorry about that.
No, that's yeah.
So,
I wasn't sure.
We proved it was a bad idea anyways. Sanra
Oh yeah,
was too eager.
I
He deployed
that was-
10 inches away from my front line and was
that was
shot.
my
to death
fault.
instantly.
I played that so dumb. If you watch that battle report, please don't judge my playing skills off that battle.
Oh, you will be judged.
I know. I can
Like,
already see the
snipers are
comments
the-
flooding in.
I will be Judgy McJudgerson.
I was Judgy McJudgerson after that fight. I was like, I deserved to lose that battle. All right. Well, what's the next army? We can get off of my shame.
have we done Freeborn yet? Have we talked Freeborn at all?
Yes,
had.
I believe we did.
Okay.
Did we do Boromite?
I don't know if we did Bormites.
Oh crap! I don't know.
I don't believe so. Oh, Tim, you're not
Tim,
muted.
you're muted.
I'm really sorry, guys. My hands are going. My hand is not in full control today, so it's a bit.
Oh, you're quite all right, man.
That's okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we did do Boromites last time, because I remember talking about.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Mass compactors and
Mhm.
about the tractor mauls as really the meat and drink of the army, and then perhaps having a couple of the gangers in the back. But actually, you know, it's the Gribblies who really make the Boromite army the really nasty army. So take Lavans; they're the ones who you need.
Yeah, the Lavamites we were talking
I
about.
love Lavon. I'm gonna get like a Lavon tattoo at some point. I have to.
Oh my God, that's
Get like a Lavon crab on my face, right under my eye.
Yeah, it's somebody shows you that Space Marine tattoo or Chaos tattoo, and you're like, oh yeah, check this out.
I have a Space Marine tattoo. I do. I have the what is it? The
Aquila.
The Aquila. I always say Aquila, and that's not right. It's Aquila on my thigh.
Well, you can get that one covered up, right? All right. So we talked Bormites. What about Concord? We and Algrin. Do we talk those? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't believe we talked about Algrin.
The one.
No, we did.
Yeah, we did talk about
Oh.
it. It was because we talked about the flexibility and the options you've got.
That's right, yeah.
Them on top of the core AI squads. And
We should have
that's
written a
actually
list.
Wargamers Army. The one we haven't touched really on is Privateers.
Oh yeah.
If we do talk about Privateers, I will say that it's got to come with a big caveat that these aren't. A Privateers Army is not really a beginner's army.
I was going to say it's a beginner's faction. Well, yeah.
I have not looked at the Privateers. Well, I mean, I've looked at it, but I've not actually played it. I'm actually curious about it because I have tons of models for it, and I'd love to try it. So I'm going to step back and listen.
So I have not yet played Privateers. I am, however, painting Privateers. That's the next army I'm going to play.
Yeah.
I gave her katanas. I'm really proud of the katanas. But so Privateers are awesome because they can be anything. And it kind of depends on what you want to do with them. I personally, like I've already said, am a very aggressive player. I really like 1-2 punches. I really like transports, and I really like melee units. The thing that appeals to me about Privateers, and again, this is with, take this all with a grain of salt. This is Theorycraft. I haven't played them that much or at all. Is that Boramites, my favorite army, cannot take a transport under 1,000 points. Privateers can take all of the units that I would want to put in a transport in a Boramite army in a transport at 500 and 750 points. So my core concept is that I really want to take a T7 transport and stick a work gang in it. That being said,
Interesting.
yeah, exactly. Which I think is really effective. It's also really expensive. I've been having a little trouble fitting it in, and I might be forced to stick a Sun Ra in there instead because they're cheaper and almost as effective. I would say Work Gang is better than Sun Ra, by virtue of the fact that they're not large, and they have more people. They're probably not as punchy, but I think they're more useful overall. It also should be noted that Privateers cannot take X launchers, and that is like such a new challenge when you're building a list. It is not having access to that. They do, however, have access to both Damari and AI squads, which can take slingnet ammo. So they have ways of putting pins out. They also have access to the Solar Command Skimmer, which is the ultimate X launcher. So yeah. So that's where I'm at with them. I would really like to figure out a melee army with them. I think Tim has a lot more experience with Privateers, at least playing against them, right? You've played. Was it Jan Rudolph has played quite a few Privateers lists, correct?
Jan Rudolph's really
Jan
good.
Rudolph, sorry.
Yeah, and he was also, when I played against him, he was also incredibly lucky. I was using my brand new purple dice, and I've never used them again, except to give them to other people, at which point they roll really, really well. Now, but Jan's actually really good at the Privateers. He's got, I think it's the Ivory Company he calls his Privateers.
That's cool.
And he uses the mix in the list to its maximum, but he is an experienced player. He's quite a knowledgeable player, and he knows the rules. So he can overcome that quite big hurdle which exists to starter players for somebody like the Privateers of having so many mixed units in a small list and using them effectively. And he did very well. He's done very well at the competitions. He's I think he won the last one, whatever, and he's done really well in others too. But he takes, if I remember rightly, he takes an Isaurian Taurus squad in there. He takes a Boramite work gang, and he takes some Damari, and he upgrades his command squad to something really quite nice with all sorts of juicy bits in it as well. So it's a real mix and match army, but he puts them all together to use them. And that's the real downside of privateers, is that once you've got all access to all these bits and bobs who were there as part of a privateer army, they're very difficult to use consistently, I should say. What would I put in there? I'd probably put in some freeborn. I'd use a work gang. Perhaps freeborn commands. You've got to have a command. I'd use a work gang.
Which work gang?
Probably just the tractor mauls. It's just, we're talking about a melee unit here. This is what's important about them. Probably a strike squad or a Taurus squad. But then we're starting to add up to quite a few points already just by mentioning that lot, and that's it. So we're 250, 350, and if you put a strike squad in, that's 475. So maybe you want to get that out. So you want to go 350, and then you need a support team or something else in. And really, you do need to make good use of things like targeted probes to make it easier for you to hit your opponents, because you're lacking this overhead stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm the type of player that likes.
I should say, I'll back up there.
Oh, you're right.
Strike squad, I meant phase squad, not strike squad. You can't use a strike squad with a Sandar phase squad.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, as far as like the privateer army, I mean, I like to be up in your face. I like to take a lot of the assault squads, even though it doesn't work most of the time. So a good privateer list is more shooty or more salty, or are they kind of in the middle?
I think it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, they're in the middle, and it depends what you want to do and how you want to run them. They're a bit like the Algorithm in that way, except they're not Algorithm.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way of talking about it. So if you want to make them more hand-to-hand, then they can be more hand-to-hand. If you want to make them a ranged and standoff list, then you can do it. For a lot of our games day scenarios and campaigns, they're often objective biased. So you need to get to an objective and hold it, or you need to get to an objective and retrieve it. And for those, then you really do need some good hand-to-hand units who can actually take those objectives and hold them or pull them back, and risk being face-to-face with an enemy. But you also need some supporters behind them, shooters, to actually make sure that they can get there in the first place. And that's probably why he does so well with them, because he can do that balance. But there's some other guys who are also actually, I know, who are also very good at using mixed AI algorithm lists, and they do exactly the same. So they've got a few hand-to-hand ones who can go in and take a squad, take a objective, or bring it off, but they then have all the rest there to shoot and support those units actually doing what they need to do. But it does take some really, really good skill to be able to pull that balance off.
Excellent. Okay, so in that, what you, Not Jay, were originally kind of going for was some sort of like privateer or freeborn, to where you can kind of bring in what you want, kind of like how you, Kevin, with his simians, he wanted to use those as freeborn,
Phoenix, yeah.
I can't wait to see those painted up. They're going to be cool.
Is there an element of the privateer army that's like that, to where you can kind of plug and play a unit in there like that?
I mean, in the sense of the counts as rule in general, I mean, your list would be a good one, because since you have access to so many different types of infantry, if you have a miniature from a different miniature range that you really like, you can kind of pretty easily throw them in and count them as whatever you feel is appropriate. And that's completely, it's encouraged, I would say, because it does give someone who wouldn't mind using like a counts as system a lot of options in comparison to a lot of the other factions.
Yeah, and if you're a story-driven person, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I mean, I'm story-driven. I use counts as models all the time. We did last night, So it's just what I guess if you're not playing a lot of competitive play or tournament play, Sergey, then
Well, in Gates of
Oh, Tim, I
Antares,
think
counts
I was
as
trying to say
really
something.
doesn't matter. Because it's about the base in Antares. The reason why count says becomes a problem in games like Warhammer is because if somebody has the inclination to, they can model for advantage. They can stick. They can build a demon that's crouching, so you can't see it, and that's or they can build a demon that's reaching out with a sword, so it has extra charge distance, and that's why that sucks. In Antares, that doesn't matter because you can't do that. And also, if you are somebody who likes to do counts as in like Warhammer, just build it to the dimensions of the normal model.
Yeah.
It's easy to do.
and that's the point. Jan, for example, has a whole bunch of conversions in his army, and it's interesting. Dig H saying that he's actually faced it a couple of times as well. But Jan's a complete gent, and he is. He's a great guy to play against, and he's a lovely guy. But he's gone into the background of his Ivory Company, and he's modded up some of his command squad, for example.
That's awesome.
From different manufacturers, and he's thrown in a few models from here and there. Frankly, to make it look like a pirate company, which is
Yeah.
you could expect. These regimented troopers all at the same post with their rifle at slope and okay, aim all together. And half of them going to say, "What did he say?" Don't know. Translate for me. And it's that's
Yeah, I've got an example of this. I'll be right back.
It's all of that sort of that sort of real mixed thing that it's obviously washing day today as well.
Yeah.
Stocks aren't available in volunteers either. We were in two minds whether or not you should actually put whether or not you should actually put the Gribblies in them, the Larvans in them at all. But we're used to shipping lava mites.
Look at Sergey.
You can't put them to sleep like you can with lava mites.
Put your hand on it, Sergey.
Superb.
This is my Freeborn command squad. They all have katanas. They all have like Tengu masks on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lovely. Very pretty.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. And like I already showed this lady with her katanas on her back. So I'm building like an Eastern themed privateers army.
Yeah, lovely. And that's a good model to base your captain on as well. She's the Freeborn commander. It absolutely and perfectly fits in with a privateers thing. That'd be lovely to see up at a tournament in Nottingham when we next have a tournament, when we're next allowed to have a tournament.
I can't wait. We still have plane tickets. we have credits for the airline. We'll eventually be there.
If you'll let Americans in, that is.
Yeah.
Not Jay. We need to save up so we can go too.
Yeah. Oh, I need to update my passport. I think my
we'll
passport
go to the store together and we'll both purchase. Kevin, you and I will pick out an outfit, and then Nache and Sergey will go pick out something weird. And
it's
then
gonna be floral, Nache.
If you can find, here's the deal. There's two. Well, I don't mind, the Hawaiian shirt look, but my branding is needs to be one of two things.
Okay.
It either needs to be one of those World War II Navy ship Hawaiian shirts.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Or even better, a Star Wars Hawaiian shirt.
Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Now, if you've watched our battle reports, I exclusively wear skinny jeans, and you're gonna.
Well, see, the thing is now I probably could pull off skinny jeans.
Yeah, there you go.
I've lost so much weight.
Hey, Kevin, sweatpants and a t-shirt.
We're gonna look so much better than you guys. You have no idea.
But I will have. I mean, this here is epic.
Yeah.
I'll try to grow mine out. It'll be very limp.
But
Sergey, you gotta make him proud.
I'll have to up the game if I'm going to be standing side by side with Kevin, because
that's true.
What you need to do is get it just about 2 or 3 inches longer and wax it out straight, like that one general
Salvador
from World
Dali.
War II.
Yeah.
We started talking about if they'll let Americans in, and then we lost them.
He gone.
It was
Oh,
like,
Tim was
took
like,
his
no,
internet,
we're
dropped out.
not letting them in. Never.
do you know, Sergey, by the way, do you know if Skarks are available in privateers? That was Scott Hendrick.
They're not. So most of your cool units
I
aren't.
love the Skarks.
Yeah, so
the Skarks.
like you can only take like lava mites become a limited choice. You can't take Skarks, you can't take brood mothers, you can't take anything that's particularly special. Like so you kind of take all the flavor units out of a privateers list in favor of variety. The only like flavorful unit that you can really take, I would say, is the solar command skimmer. That's like the most unique unit that they can take.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense. Yeah, and also the fact that they don't have X launchers, they kind of need it.
Although the Skark model is really cool. I need to see
love
the Skark model in person because I feel like
You
when I
wanna
first
see
saw
it?
it,
Is that the flying teeth?
I've got it.
yeah,
I
it
think
might
it's
be
cool.
the fact that the riders look very, very dark elf. Maybe that's
They're very dark elf. Yeah, they're like
Mohawk.
no, that's the Mike guy.
Mohawk. They got like plate armor. They look
Yeah,
like they have
I
like
love it.
scorpion tail whips.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought about. Oh God, forgive me. Chopping their heads off
Mhm.
and giving them a Native American head,
Oh, that would
you
be
know,
cool.
like a headdress. You know
That
what
would
I'm
be
saying?
badass. Yeah.
I think that would be cool because, like, I had an idea of making my whole entire Freeborn force tribal nations. You know, like
That'd be cool.
yeah,
You could use
that
some
would
of the Mythic America mini heads.
Oh, you could do that
that they
too.
just released. Yeah.
They're all one piece. But anyway,
Oh, that would be hard then.
the Old Glory sells three. The American Indians in three pieces where you have to put the head on. So that's what I would use with the bonnets. But that's kind of my idea. I had a different idea, started it with that, and was like, no. So I'm probably going to end up putting the Indian headdress, the bonnet, the war bonnet heads on these models because they fit.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Size. But they are cool looking. They are my favorite looking model, and it's a little worm with wings.
I can't.
Yeah,
I hope they eventually release the big one, the
Skark.
Mega Skark, the Skark Meld. Yeah,
Yeah,
because we need more monsters in Antares because the Broodmother model is so
Creme de la
good.
creme.
It's creme de la creme. It's my favorite model I've ever painted, and
Mine too.
I didn't
It's
even
the
do that
first
great of a
one.
job on it. It's a cool model. It's hard
You
to
did.
mess up.
You did a great job on it, and that was
Oh,
actually
thank you.
the first one that I did a video for. The first one I painted, all around, and we have him back. He's here, Tim. He needed a break.
We weren't talking about anything important
No,
at all.
and I believe we've talked about all the factions. I mean, Privateer wraps kind of it up as far as basic
yeah.
competitive. You folks in the comments there, if you have any more questions, please pop them in there. We'll answer them. I think the next podcast we need to talk about terrain. I think that would be a really good subject to talk about. Kevin, look, he's giddy as a schoolgirl.
Yeah, yes.
I love terrain.
We can talk be homebrewed terrain. We can have the rule book terrain, which I have. I'm about halfway through it. I'm making the very first that big huge. Oh, there's a picture of it where it has like, oh man, the first one. It sits in the middle of the generator.
The Boromite one. Crap! I forget what it's called.
It's the very first in Xylos.
The MDF set, right?
No. This doesn't even have a MDF kit.
Yes, this isn't the first or one of the first scenarios in Xylos. It's the shield projector, basically. It's like a generator that fields the.
I have the two solo cups glued together. I have the plastic card around it, like it looks in the picture. So I mean, I've got so many projects in the works, but that is like.
There's a step-by-step with that one on the Nexus too, right?
Yes, I was going to point that out. I was going to point that in the Nexus, you can actually find a step-by-step for that. But of course, us being, modelers and stuff, you want to do your own, but I have looked at it for sure. It really does. He did a great job with it on the Nexus. But my footprint's going to be a little bit bigger. And I like the Boromite control vent that I've got, this big, massive, it's going to be about that size. So where I can go, okay, here's the Boromite one. Oh, we don't want to play with that one. All right, here's this one. So, and it does this, so I think that'd be an awesome topic. If you guys all agree, we could do that for our next episode.
Kevin will be the star of that show.
Yeah, Tim too. Tim's a Terraniac as well.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of Tim's terrain. It looks awesome.
Oh, thank you very much. But yeah, I love making terrain.
Oh yeah, no, Matt, your terrain also looks very good. Everyone knows your terrain looks great. You make videos about it.
Yeah, Matt, your little freaking Western town.
Western town is so cool.
I'm so jealous.
It's so really cool. I don't play any Western games, but damn, that's a cool.
Whatever,
town.
man.
We can remedy that.
It'll be like the sand going over the road, the tumbleweed dances across, and then just the lone Concord man kicks out the saloon door.
I swear to you, I thought about this. I thought about they go to a planet that is stuck in 1800, and then there's these bystanders. I just got 6 packs of bystanders from Knuckle Duster Miniature, of the whores, the ladies, the bartenders, the workers, and so now I have bystanders, and I created a deck of what happens if you shoot within 6 inches of them.
That's awesome.
So hey,
shoot within 6 inches of the
bystander.
But is that you're 6 inches away from them, or your target is 6 inches away from them?
Okay, Sergey. If you're standing within 6 inches of a bystander, you would draw out of this deck of cards, is what I'm kind of designing. And it'd be completely random, kind of like when we were playing Gunfight Royale. It'd just be completely random.
Right, like, dude runs into the outhouse when McMurray is trying to get out.
Yeah, pretty much. Or you're standing next to some lady, and all of a sudden you draw a card, and it's a Derringer comes out, and they shoot you before you get the shot off. So
or you get slammed in the back with an axe.
Yeah, that too. If you watch their playthrough, that did happen. I got shot in the butt. He got hit in the spine with an axe somehow. Somehow we shot each other.
Facing each other. One hex, one. Yeah.
So, but that's getting off topic. But yes,
we're very off topic.
We'll just put 10-gallon hats on Gar battle suits and tiny little poker cards in their claws.
Nice.
That would be wonderful. All right. Well, anyway, Tim, do you have any final thoughts? You guys have any final thoughts? Now is the time.
We've said all of this about, starter armies and all the rest of it. The main thing about Antares is that it always responds best to an army that you have most fun with. I have to say that more than anything else. It's a narrative game, not a head-to-head type game. So if you want to really take part in that story and use everything to advantage, then go for a good narrative army, one in which you can create the story for and enjoy so much more. And that is more likely to bring success, if you see what I mean. If that's what you want, it will, more than anything else, bring you a lot more fun.
Awesome. People are liking it. Nick Hobbs. I'm late to the party, but hello, everyone. Hey, Nick.
What's up, Nick? Goodbye, Nick.
Yeah. Hello. Goodbye.
We'll watch it afterwards. Your final thoughts, Sergey, Not Jay, and Kevin. All at once. Do it at once. No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, kind of what Tim was saying. It's like, just have fun with it, literally. If you want to run San Ra rather than phase troops because they're giant alien spiders, go for it, because it's going to be fun either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't played an army that except for a really crappy list that I made, putting all my points into a mega drone commander blob. I made one really bad list. All the other lists I've had a lot of fun playing.
And use the Nexus. The Nexus is a great resource. There's like a bunch of different articles on there from a bunch of different people on how to get into the collecting of Antares and what you should do next. There's literally articles that will like align you. And also consider joining the Intel community on Facebook, because there's like a
absolutely.
really, really nice group of people, and any question that you ask is answered pretty quickly.
And I have the link for the Nexus in the description, or if I put it there, I might have. If not, it will be there as soon as we get off here. Go to the Nexus for real. I'm on there a lot when I need to, like, especially before we go on here, because I'm forgetful Jones and I have 1,000 games and things that I do all the time. So for me, all I got to do is skim through it, and instead of grabbing the rule book, I go to the Nexus because it's all there. I mean, honestly. You know, and when we started talking, Tim, about the Isorians, and Sergey hit me with that, question, why did I take the drones? And then I go, oh yeah, pulse spikes. So, and it's all there on the Nexus, and even the lists, so you can look at the list and the points, and you can follow along with us on the Nexus too when we start talking about things and adding stuff to the conversation in the comments as well, especially for terrain. There's so many good things on there as well, like my man-eating plants. I don't think that's on the Nexus, but I still have to show that off. I'm going to show that off here soon.
Well, next week we're talking about terrain.
There you go.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Onions.
See, that's why you have me.
Yes. No, not Jay. You sat here, you listened because you're the newbie, and from the newbie, I want to hear the thoughts from the newbie. What have you learned today, or if you learned anything that was interesting, something that caught your eye, or any questions that you might have had for all of our newbies out there that you might want to ask?
So
Final thoughts.
What I've gathered is that obviously you can't go wrong with either of the starter boxes. Money wise, actual cash wise, Strike on Kara 9 is dollar for dollar, pound for pound, shekel for shekel, the best deal in gaming.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you buy the book, you get a crap ton of models for free. That's exactly what's happening right now. I don't know how long they're planning to do, be crazy and do that. I mean, literally, they need to have their mothers check them because they're crazy. But I think, at least for me, besides the freeborn, because I really like the idea of the freeborn, I love the aesthetic of the freeborn.
They're so cool.
Because they remind me of the Fremen from Dune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how they're getting painted once I actually get remotivated to paint again. I've been very unmotivated lately. My second favorite absolutely is the Algren. Big, beefy battle suits with very militaristic looking equipment. And that's why I'm painting them up in 3-color NATO camouflage.
Yeah, I really liked your skimmer. It looks great.
Yeah, well, it took a hit.
Oh no!
Cat.
Oh no, that's awful. I dropped my hauler recently, so I feel your pain.
So that's got to get put back together. Anyway, and I think if I can clean off my desk, I'd feel a lot better. If you saw this just massive
wizard desk.
Oh my Lord, it's horrible. Anyway, also, talking about going on to the Nexus website and joining the Nexus on Facebook. I'm not a big contributor. I lurk a lot. It's really weird. Here, I have no problems, going out, asking questions, and being part of the discussion. Not so much today, but and on our other shows here on Rocky's War Room TV, I'm very outgoing. But on the internet, I am very quiet. I lurk a lot, and I gotta get a feel for the quote room before I'll start interjecting. That being said, I've been in internet groups for the Gates of Antares here. I've also been in internet groups for the other 800-pound gorilla in the gaming industry. Two completely different feels. The Beyond the Gates of Antares folks are warm, welcoming, will at the drop of a hat give you ideas and give praise to, even if it is the crappiest looking model you have ever seen. If the group knows, well, that's at the level where the guy is right now, and we know he can do, or she can do better, we're going to encourage that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to tear it down. We're going to encourage you to continue to do the best you can, and by doing that, you're going to make yourself better. And then in 2 or 3 years, you'll look back and say, I can't believe I put that out, but everybody loved it.
Yeah.
Because we do.
Oh, yes.
We love everything we see, whether it's just, just getting started like with this guy. Hey, those are great colors. Can't wait to see the rest of it. And whereas in other sites, like, well, that doesn't have enough colors on it, or that's pretty crappy. It's like,
yeah, it's a very positive community. You really, yeah,
I agree.
And I will attribute that to one primary reason.
What's that?
Although there are competitive players, you at least I haven't seen this. You're not playing for anything other than I won and I had fun.
Yeah, basically, yeah, exactly.
Because I don't see, even if there is a tournament, it's more of a, hey, let's everybody get together and play 2 or 3 games today, and hey, why don't we do it really cool and have them as a linked mini campaign? That'd be cool, wouldn't it, guys?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you get if you win? A good time.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's like, I mean, even those tournaments are, I think the ultimate like win from it is knowing that, like even me and Sergey, who remotely played it and sent in a result,
cool, which was super cool. Thanks for letting us do that, Tim.
all of that is affecting the overall narrative of the entirety of the fluff world, and that is the sweetest part. Because like you said, Not Jay, it doesn't have that feeling where you're like, I got a trophy, like it's over 9,000. No, you're literally just like, you're having a great time. It almost feels like the person who wins is just like, hey, look, that guy, man, he was the luckiest of today. It's fun.
Awesome.
So, I mean, that's just what I've the community is. I wish the community was a little bit bigger locally.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. We're gonna make it the number one sci-fi war game in the world.
Okay, keep with that. No, but like here in the St. Louis area, I'm about as far out of as you can go and still be considered part of the St. Louis area. But there is, I think, 3 guys in the St. Louis area. That's Matt, me, and another guy that has been popping up recently. But once all of this noise is over, I'd love to go to some of the gaming stores in the St. Louis area and see if they'd let us just set up for the day and run games, run demo games.
And speaking of that,
have these two starter armies from the Strike on Kara 9 set up on the table and said, okay, this is what you get when you buy the Strike on Kara 9 box, and this is how to play it. And then maybe on a table over have a big like 1,250 point list game set up to show them how a quote full game can be played.
Well,
Just-
like what Ruben says here, Not Jay. He says, guys, you would love coming over here for Antares Day. It is an amazing event. So nice. I'll leak this a little. So I'm talking to Tim. I don't believe I mentioned it, or I have mentioned it last year. I had planned to do an Antares Day here in St. Louis.
Mhm.
At the same time, coincide with Antares Day over there. There's a lot of people in Kansas City that love playing Antares as well. There's a big community over there. Like I said, when I was at Recruits, I had 20 people surrounding my table. So it is, as soon as COVID is good and clear and I can make it happen, I will have an Antares Day, and Kevin and Sergey will work with me on that, and we've talked about it together to where we'll have a central place. It won't be, a snazzy convention hall, probably American Legion or something like that. And we'll combine all our terrain. We'll bring as much as we can. Make that terrain, Kevin, okay?
So many boxes. Holy crap. So many boxes. I want to look like I'm like freaking moving.
I would love to do a 6 table or maybe a 5 table, 4 table, something like that, link campaign. And all of them are different planets, and they're all linked together somehow, some way, and then have some demos being run and things like that. And, kind of mimic the Antares Day that they have there and see what happens. If it continues to be popular, we can continue to do it every year. Even if it's 2 people, I'd be happy, so that's the idea.
What we need to do is get Kevin and Sergey over here for Recruits.
Yeah, we'll get that. Don't worry about that. I'm sure we'll do that. If they can get a plane ticket and go to London,
from our ceiling.
if they can get a plane ticket and fly over there to see Tim, they can drive over to see us, right?
Right? Yeah, because wherever it is in Elk Snout, Ohio, that you are,
We live in a major city.
keep telling yourself that.
We promise it's not West Virginia.
I run demo games across DFW every week. No game shop has ever said no so far. I don't
See,
think they will.
Awesome.
that's a major city, Sergey. No, I still think that it's just a great
Once
community.
you play it, once you play the game, and that's what I tell everybody when I'm running demos or if I'm at a convention, it's like just come here, just play it, just see it played. Even if you're just watching it, I have not had one person yet. Even I had a diehard 40K player a couple years ago come over here and go, "Oh wow, that's interesting."
Mm-hmm. It's
so
good.
like
It's amazing.
it really drives people. It really drives itself once it's there and in front of. So I think it's important. Darth Vader, not Jay. I think it's important. That's our code word. That's our code word. I really think once people see it played, once it's on the table, once they see playthroughs like you guys do, we're going to do it here. I mean, I'm currently, as soon as I get through my Mythic Americas, I'm painting that right now. My Algren's going to start getting painted, and my Bormites are going to continue to paint it along with my Western stuff. So I'm just going to switch back and forth from the 3. Once I have Algren and Bormite, I have 4 armies, painted to put on the table, and we could do something live. Now, I'm not thinking crazy 1,000 points. That would take a while. I'm thinking we'll have 2 armies, 2 teams. Maybe we'll do it as a podcast, something to last an hour, 500 points, something like that. And we can do one of our night fights our night fights are anytime we play a live game, we call it a night fight. But we could do it as one of our podcasts as well, on a Sunday where I can throw 500 points out here of Gar, 500 points of Concord, and watch, Kevin and Sergey cringe and dropkick and go, Gar, and Gar, so.
See, we'll make it more interesting. We'll add a K to the mix, and it'll be a knife fight. Like me and Sergey will tape our hands together at the same, you know what I mean?
Look at this. I will drive up, help with a games day. Excellent. Scott, that's great. We'll get in contact with you. I'll write your name down. And Tim, you're muted.
Hey, you're muted, B.
Scott's been doing some great stuff as well. Guys, anyway, I have to go.
Tim. Yeah, we're gonna get off here. Tim,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
We're heavily off topic at this point.
We'll see you. We'll see you next
Tim.
month. Ta-ta.
Take care, buddy.
Bye.
And here we go. Mini Warmat says, yes, I agree. I finally painted all the minis of Car 9 and played my first solo game, and the dice system is easy to learn. Next time I will add the reaction moves. Now that was something I didn't add either. Reactions can be a little tough, but that's another podcast altogether. Nick Hobbs says, can you give a shout out to my old Scottish schoolmate Peter? Oh God! See, now they're having me pronounce things. Kai, who just got Car 9 yesterday. He hasn't touched a mini since 1992. Beautiful.
Hell yeah, Peter.
Welcome,
That's awesome.
welcome to the club, buddy.
That's a good
Peter.
flow.
And Mini says, of course, my Concord just shot the crap out of the Algren. Love the support drones. Okay. Yes, but there is a counter. But we won't get into that, guys.
Yeah,
All right.
Warmut, you need to drag your ass up here also. I know you live out there in the desert and everything, but you got to get up here.
All right, guys. Well, that was Antares Adventures. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kevin, Sergey, Tim, Not Jay, of course, the newbie. Not Jay Newbie is what we're going to call you on this show. Till next time, we're talking terrain next month. It'll probably be the second weekend of every month is what we're going to be doing this, but it's subject to change, so I haven't really set the time yet. But look for it in the second weekend of February. So thanks, guys. Last but not least, from me to you, ta-ta, and we'll catch you in our next Antares adventure.